Hey everyone, it's Chris from Solstice as well as Axel. You can find us on the websites. Make sure to check us out at solstice.axelatrai.com or axelatrai.com. We're on Instagram, Discord, YouTube. The weekly video on YouTube is for free for everyone. So you can subscribe, smash the like button, let us know how we can help you and assist you by giving us a thumbs up. Remember, we're not a broker dealer. Our past performance doesn't give us any indication of future results. Use at your risk. Let's go to the first slide that I have up here. And what I wanted to do is put the S&P, the NASDAQ 100, which is the fantastic or the magnificent seven. I included Netflix in there as well. Last but not least, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and gold in there, and the fear and greed gauge in there. I don't have the bond sector in there. So, first of all, if I take a look at the NASDAQ 100, the Magnificent Seven consists of Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, which is GOOG and Google, Facebook, which is used to be known as Facebook, it's Meta, Microsoft, Netflix included in there, nvda, as well as Tesla. If I look at the Nasdaq 100, the S&P consists of 45 to 46% of the Nasdaq 100 because it is part of it. So when sectors change rotation from conservative to aggressive, aggressive to conservative, or consumer products and staples and so on, you have to be paying attention to what sectors are moving on monthly, quarterly basis if there is a correction in the market. So I'm not biased to being bearish or bullish. We trade what we see on the chart as traders, unless we are swing trading a position for the long term to find the correct entry on it. So if I take a look at the S&P, it consists of the energy, consumer discretionary, financial, utilities, material, consumer staples, info technology, real estate, industrial, healthcare been doing well, telecommunication, and here last but not least I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and gold, and the fear and greed gauge. Remember, this is for illustration. You can look at each chart separately one by one, but I'll go over a couple. Here I put the XLK ratio to the SPY. This is the technology sector in relationship to the Fortune 500. On Friday, the technology sector reversed up, but the S&P is holding much better due to the health sector, which is XLV. And XLP. So we have to pay attention if there's sector rotations from technology and semiconductor. If the S&P gonna find some levels, if I'm gonna be shorting, I'll be shorting like the Nasdaq, which is the weak one. And on resets, I'll be buying the SPY or the E-mini in relationship to what the other sectors are doing on reversal bars. So let's go to the next slide. And we can see this area is very important because we tapped into it and bounced back up. If I end up losing this consolidation from here in this area here, because the Nasdaq was going for a while side and eventually it broke out. Now it's starting to lose its sector, which is part of the XLK, and this is why you see that sharper move in the ratio. Let's go to the next slide. I put the NASDAQ 100 next to the Fortune 500. In this area where we're consolidating forward, where the NASDAQ was a little bit lagging, you can see the November 14 of 2024, the January 1st of 2025, the April low of 2025, and that was a January high. We came back in and rallied back up nicely, consolidated for a little bit, then continued higher. But now I'm starting to see a little bit of crackdown in the Nasdaq. You can see that double top here in the ratio and coming back down. And we lost the uptrend channel, I connected the points. I didn't use candle. I made it into a line. So I am paying attention to this area, the 3.7 ratio to the 3 point, let's call it 7 area, 6.7 area in the ratio on the NASDAQ and the Fortune 500. If there's going to be a bounce back up, I'm paying attention to the 75 in order to continue. If there's going to be continuation back to the backside, I would be looking for the back area on the charts on those two channels that I put in here. Last but not least, remember to check us out at solsticeatrai.com. Get in contact with us. We're here to help. Let's go to the first slide that I have up here. What I did, I put the S&P 500. As you can see, the S&P 500 came to the backside of the channel. Last month's range, this is the high, this was the low, and you can see the Fibonacci sitting right there and the highs there. We came below the 50%. We just closed right above it by a hair and cleared the 50 SMA, but we still have the 18 SMA on top and the 50s underneath. If I'm going to look above and create a lower high, if I zoom in this area, just to kind of give you a better idea, if I zoom in, this is the highs, this is a lower high, but these two highs are almost identical in this area. Every time we came back close to this area, we bounced back up. Is this a sucker's rally going back on Friday to push them up in this area? And if we find a lower high, in case we create this high coming up, creating that roundness and coming back through this channel, I'll look for the breakdown and eventually coming back to the backside of the support area. So this is very important. We're going to trade what we see, not what we think. This is on the SPY. Let's take a look at the QQQ, the NASDAQ. And I'm going to show you that the NASDAQ is a little bit weaker. It had a look below the prior week's low. You can see that rally on Friday, the rally, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this Thursday. This is the Friday. Look below, come back up to close up. But if I'm looking in this area on consolidation, if it creates a lower high and it cannot clear that 150%, if I take the high to low here, that's my support and resistance. If we push above, I'm looking for the upside here. The 18 SMA will act as resistance, will catch up. If it pushes and breaks up, that's great. If it doesn't, it creates a lower high and breaks these two candles and the point of control on the profile, then I look for the backside of these candles eventually to break and continue lower on the QQQ. Let's take a look at the XLK because I'm mentioning them one by one, and I'll go to the commodities. This is the XLK. You can see those gaps after the pushes. We created that shoulder. This is the head. This is the shoulder, that double top. Couldn't make it. That was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Look above, but it came above and cleared the 50 SMA. If it's going to continue, you're going to pay attention to this area. If it's going to act the 290, 134 as resistance, looking above and coming back through it, that's the value area high on the time spent. And this is the value high. We closed underneath it. If there's going to be continuation and I end up losing this channel in the 50 SMA, that would be a short to the backside of this consolidation and this gap here. This is the first consolidation before the breakout because you retested it and broke up. If it falls through it, you look for this second gap and this consolidation on this island reversal right here where there was a gap, and that would be the major area in the 116 SMA coming in that range because you have this volume profile built. This is a gap here, smaller profile, smaller gap, and a bigger point of control where it's down here in the time spent. So that's on XLK. SMH would look in this, if you look at them, they're very similar chart, SMH. And you can see in SMH, that consolidation here, you can see where it created a point of control gap, continued higher, but you can see the prior month low and high in this area coming down. It looked up, it held the 50 SMA, but the backside of the channel was not cleared. It's acting if it's going to look above this channel, come back in to fall lower, and we lose this area here where the lows were at the 324. So that's, and we'll fill this gap, and I will come back to this consolidation. So I'm not a fan in the tech sector at this point, unless I find something similar to GOOGL. I'll show you GOOGL. GOOGL, actually, I'm going to show you GOOG and GOOGL because GOOGL has my volume point of control, which is the point of control, the volume on it. I call it VPOX, where most volume happened. And the consolidation and a breakout, whenever it's never retested, I have a purple line. These are daily VPOCs. I'm going to zoom it in. This is a daily VPOC. That's a daily VPOC. That's a daily VPOC. That's a daily VPOC that was created on Friday, and that was the prior one from the day before. You can see it's sitting up there. This is my value high, my value low, and my consolidation. So it looks like a little bit healthy. It is above the 50 SMA. The backside of this channel is 50% in this gap. If Google going to continue lower, I'm looking for this gap and this consolidation back here at the F6 and the 50 SMA to catch the win. Because if there's going to be a seller in Google, Google got bought up in the market due to the fact that Berkshire Hathaway was talking about, they been investing in Google, and they put about $17 billion into play. I think their average rate of return, you see this consolidation here when they were starting to buy on that push on the earning report, it broke out, it rallied up, came back down. Somebody knew in this area around the 245 to 43 area that's a very important area where they found the support. You can see it coming back to it, and they ran it sharply high, and you had this island reversal 1 and 2 came back to retest this area. Even if it comes back to this area, that would be great for a bounce. And even if it comes back down here, that would be a more better area to buy in this zone. But I think if Google holds, you look for reversal back up in it. If I take a look at NVDA, will be reporting this week. I'm going to show you NVDA. It doesn't look good. I don't like the chart, the way it's setting up. Even on Friday, that rallied back up into NVDA. I'm not interested because there was a lot of consolidation here. You can see these gaps. I had them in here and marked. Eventually, we broke up. We created a double top and a lower high here. If this is considered the shoulder, this is the head, this is the shoulder, and we cannot make it to F3 or the 18 SMA, and we fall back through these two areas, create a push and come back through. I would look for the backside of the point of control and back here eventually for the support on NVDA. So I'm not biased to being bearish, but I don't like to set up even until it plays out into the earning report. So that's NVDA, because a lot of the stuff is on the put side, on the overall sentiment on NVDA, and we just leave it at that. Let's take a look at the micro ES, which is the S&P 500. I want to bring these charts to a lower time frame, but I went through the SPY, and you can see that this consolidation with a point of control, you looked up, you came back, created a lower high. That was almost equal high, which is a little bit higher, rallied back up and cleared the 50 Fibonacci. You can see the last month high and low, and the 50%, we are above it, even coming back in this area, creating a lower high and breaking through and coming down. I would look for the backside of this consolidation in this area here. So that's the E-mini. Let's take a look at the micro NQ. Oops. Micro NQ. We can take a look at the micro NQ, and even if I zoom in, you can see that gap that was here, and that was the Federal Reserve Board. We fell down, rallied sharply, and we created a lower high. That was a little bit lower. You can see the NASDAQ fell below the 61.8% or the 38.2. It depends how you draw it. If you draw top to bottom or bottom to top, you can see it fell through this area, rallied back up, holding the 50 SMA on the charts, but below the 50, and that's kind of a little bit resistant, even coming back up here, creating a lower high and falling. And if this falls through here, I wouldn't look for the 83 in this consolidation here. I would look for the major area in this area where that volume fell through, coming back to the point of control in this area where there's a lot of consolidation. The first one would be up in this area, then a little bit further down on the shorts on NQ if things do set that way. And if we end up rallying and clearing, the higher high, that would be okay. Let's take a look at Bitcoin, micro BT. Oops. And we can see Bitcoin on the daily chart in the last 6 months, after creating that 125 area, 124, couldn't make it, created a lower high. It's zigzagging now. Tried to make this is a high, low, higher low, lower low from this area. Then it created a lower low from the highs, fell through, and fell through that 100,000. This is very important that the that Bitcoin, everybody's aware of the 100. If there's going to be continuation, what I'm going to do is go for the annual chart. And I wanted to show this area very importantly because a lot of people are not looking into this after the push above and falling through that 104 128 area. I called this area for everyone. I said be careful of this area. You can see it's fallen quite a bit. The pivot point or the support and resistance, this is the consolidation. If it has to hold, then that's the value area low. On the charts, you can see the value high, value low, and the point of control. This is where most volume happened in that year and the time spent. If I cannot make it back up to the backside of this channel and I end up falling, I'll look for this major consolidation where it happened here on the charts. I mean, they're going to be probably around the 93,000 area, 92, some kind of support for a bounce back up. If there is, you try to accumulate it back up, but if it's going to fall through, then you look for the backside of this consolidation area on the charts, on the daily charts. But if I look at the weekly, if I go 3-year weekly, I just wanted to show the profile how sharp it can, because that's the 50 SMA. It lost it. If it's going to be continuation, because there's no volume till this area here. There may be, some kind of support here, but you see that gap up here, rally, come back in, retest it where the breakout happened, where the lows are. You can see it. It's sitting around the 75,000, and that's the 116 SMA. If it finds support, that's great. If not, you look for this major consolidation up in this area and where the time spent on Bitcoin. If I do Ethereum, I'm going to show you ET. And I go back to the daily chart 1 year, I wanted to show this here on purpose because you can see that look above in this area. When we looked above, we were trying to create, then we created that triple top. This is the shoulder, this is the head, this is the shoulder, or you can call this a shoulder, or double top in this area, and eventually fell down. This is a very important area in Ethereum. If it doesn't hold, then it's going to come back to the value and the backside of this consolidation in this area before finding support and breaking back up. So that's Ethereum. Let's should move on micro ES, and I will do it for everyone here. You can see this is the daily. I'm going to go from here on an intraday. We're going to go intraday. We're going to do 20 days. Let's do 4 hours, push OK. And we can see that on the weekly where the high was for the week, where the low is for the week. So this is the Fibonacci, but I usually use a measured move myself, which is units of 20 and 25, to 0 to 100 and extensions to the top and vice versa. We can see where the support is on the chart. You can see where that support is, where that low is, and you can see support and resistance. That's the F5, which is the 50%. You can see it matches correctly. And if I look to the top, if there's going to be a change in the trend and coming back to the 61 and 78, creating a lower high, and we cannot continue and we fall back through, this area is going to be very important to support. If it doesn't and falls through, you look for the 23 and eventually the 50, the 61, 78%, and so on. I use units of 80 so to calculate it a little bit better. And you can see we can come back down to this area. And if there's going to be a breakup, I'm going to just open it up to show you. You're coming back to the F6 to 50 or the 18 SMA, finding a lower high because you can draw a downtrend channel. You can see we are creating a lower high. If there's not going to be continuation, you look for the backside and failure of the 50 and the bottom end of that candle where the Thursday candle low was here. You can see where that candle is and that major 50% on the monthly. If that is lost, then you look for the lower side. So I hope this video was very helpful. If you have any questions, once again, check us out at solstice.axelatrai.com or axelatrai.com and get in contact with us. We're here to help.